On July 2, 1937, two pilots vanished over the Pacific, and everything we thought we knew about where they died was built on a single assumption that nobody ever tested. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan made a choice on that morning. They knew their fuel margins were tight. They knew the weather forecast was marginal. They knew Howland Island, their refueling stop, was smaller than a postage stamp, barely a mile and a half long. But they'd made the same calculation dozens of times before, and it had worked. So at 8:00 a.m. local time, they took off from Lee, New Guinea in a twin-engine Lockheed Electra carrying 200 gallons of fuel and the weight of a world watching their every move. 20 hours, that's how long they had to stay aloft. 20 hours of engine noise, salt spray windows, and the creeping awareness that every minute burned fuel they'd never get back. Noonan, a master navigator, had plotted the course down to the minute. Earhart, at 39 years old, had already crossed oceans before. They weren't reckless. They were professionals executing a plan they'd rehearsed. But somewhere over the vast Pacific, something fractured that plan. Radio logs show Earhart's voice growing tighter. "We are running north and south," she transmitted at 8:43 a.m. on July 2nd, "not east and west, north and south. That's not a casual navigation error. That's a sign they couldn't see Howland. That's a sign they were lost." The last confirmed transmission came at 8:43 a.m. "We are on the line north and south," then nothing. For decades, the official answer was simple. They ran out of fuel, ditched in the ocean, and sank. Case closed. The U.S. Navy searched a 250,000 square mile area and found nothing. No wreckage, no bodies, no trace. But here's what historians didn't ask: what if that assumption was wrong? In 2017, researchers proposed a radical reframe. What if Earhart and Noonan didn't ditch near Howland at all? What if they flew south, away from the search area, and ditched much farther away, in waters so deep, so remote that no one was looking there? The Mariana Trench lies about 500 miles southwest of Howland. The Gardner Island area sits 350 miles south. The math of fuel consumption suddenly became elastic. Here's the brutal arithmetic. If Earhart and Noonan made a navigation error, and radio evidence suggests they did, they had a choice under pressure. Push on to Howland and crash in shallow water, or turn and try to reach one of several coral atolls they might still reach. Every minute they stayed airborne burned fuel. Every mile they flew brought uncertainty. They chose to fly, we don't know why. That gap between what they knew and what was actually true cost them everything. The deep ocean theory hinges on one piece of evidence: radio direction finding. The U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca, positioned near Howland, tried to get a bearing on Earhart's signal. The results were contradictory. Some bearings pointed north, others south. For 80 years, searchers assumed those readings were noise, static, error, but what if they weren't? What if Earhart really was transmitting from the south? In 2018, an expedition led by deep ocean researchers launched a sonar search of the seafloor around Gardner Island. They were looking for a wreck signature, any large metal object resting on the bottom at depths of 16,000 feet or more. The sonar returned images of anomalies, rectangular shapes, metallic shadows, nothing confirmed, nothing definitive, but enough to suggest the ocean still held secrets. The problem with deep ocean recovery is brutal economics. A single manned submersible dive to 16,000 feet cost upward of $250,000. Sonar surveys cost hundreds of thousands more, bringing up wreckage from that depth millions. The Earhart case has spent roughly $5 million on official and private searches combined. No other missing aircraft has consumed that much, and we still don't have a body. We don't have a wing. We don't have a single scrap of aluminum that says, "Here." There are other theories, of course. The crash and sink near Howland remains plausible. The Gardner Island theory, that they survived the ditching and lived on the atoll for a time, has circumstantial support from old photographs and witness accounts, though nothing conclusive. Each theory rests on different assumptions about what Earhart chose to do when her options collapsed. What we know for certain: on July 2, 1937, at 8:43 a.m., Amelia Earhart made her last transmission. She was lost. She was running low on fuel, and she faced a decision tree with no good branches. The ocean swallowed her choice, and it hasn't given up its secret yet. The deep ocean theories remain unproven, but they've shifted how we think about the search. Modern sonar, satellite imaging, and submersible technology have made places once impossible to explore now merely expensive. The question isn't whether we could find her, it's whether we will. Every year, the Pacific grows colder, the wreck site deeper, and the odds of recovery smaller. Earhart's Electra could be resting on a seafloor plateau right now, waiting for someone to decide that the cost is worth the closure. Subscribe. New maritime mysteries arrive every week, and some of them are still being solved.